All right, good morning, everybody. Appreciate you guys being here. Happy Friday. We did have a little bit of data this morning. We had the building permits, 1.4 million, pretty much as expected. Housing starts 1.32 over 1.29, so a little bit higher. We have some smaller data coming out at 10 o'clock, consumer sentiment and inflation numbers. We'll keep an eye on those. Those are the UOM numbers, so the UOM is pretty terrible. So people don't care too much about those numbers anymore. But we will keep an eye on them. Taking a look at our trade plan here. Do we need to update it from yesterday? Let's see. So holding above 345, we're looking for 75 and 90. 75 is that tail extension. So if you take this lower tail and you extend it to the upper tail, that's about where it goes. So keep an eye on that 75. And then 90 is a fib level. So if you take a Fibonacci from this recent impulse here, which one did I take? I think I took this low, actually. Let's see. Did I take the bigger one? I might have taken the bigger one. I forgot which level I pulled last night. And this is the problem with fibs. You're actually seeing it in action. Which lows you take and which highs you take is subjective. Which ones did I take last night? I should have left it on there. Okay, I think it was this one. Okay, so I took the overnight low into the high at the time. So at the time when I did the trade plan, the high at the time were these highs right here. So I took the lowest impulse to the high at the time. That gave us our sell zone around 83 to 90. Yeah, right there is the problem with Fibonacci. Is which lows and which highs you take is very subjective. That's why we always give it like more of a zone. It's kind of the general idea of where we want to target. So 75 and then somewhere around the 80s to 90s. Day shape right now is a D-shaped profile with a micro pullback. So we have a kind of a 50-50 day. We don't really have the decisiveness just yet. We've got a slight bullish bias, but not too much. Yeah, Prophet, I saw your email. I'm just very behind on emails right now. Trying to catch up. I haven't granted all the access for the raffle just yet. Okay, same thing with NASDAQ. We have that micro pullback shape. Holding above 274, we're looking for 400 and 450. That is that tail extension and some Fibonacci targets around that area. Holding below 274, we are looking for 141 and 63. Sorry, I didn't cover the downside targets on ES. We're looking for 317 and 304. So retrace of yesterday's value and then prior value of Wednesday. The same thing on NASDAQ, retrace of yesterday's value and then prior value of Wednesday's high if we do start coming down. That POC node is very strong, giving us a lot of value retesting that area and holding it for now. So if we can hold on to that POC, it should try to push higher. All right, let me post that on YouTube for you guys. All right, keep an eye on these local 30-minute candles. Our local trend is protecting the lows. You see all these yellow bars, meaning they're breaking the highs of the prior candle. The past 4 candles in a row, 5 candles in a row actually, have taken out the prior highs. A lot of buy pressure coming in at that 928. 928. We've been seeing a lot of big traders trading before the open recently. So yeah, trend was decently bearish, but since about 7 o'clock, every candle has taken out the prior high. So pretty bullish going into the exact open right now. Just keep an eye on those lows. Make sure they are still protected around 45, 43, 42. Good morning, Tachi, Backpacking, JC, Jose, Lulu, Morris, Scott, Vu, Shima, Perfect, It's You, Larry, Techie, 2013, Future Unleashed, Nahal, LDM, Boat, Alex, Prophet, good morning, OD, eBay, Typhoon, Fernando, Blood, Nitro, Pat, good morning, Yusa, Ken, Trent, James, Tamer. Good morning, TK, Estevan, Tom, C-Mac, Michael, Trevor. Good morning, TDL. Appreciate you guys being here. No, I don't play any music on stream. You guys can play your own music. I have my background muted. I'm listening to music, but I don't play it on stream. I personally don't really like streams that play music. Everybody has their own taste. Alright, keep an eye on this local 30-minute candle, not breaking the high like the other candles so far. The PAL news, yeah, the PAL news was pretty volatile. The nasty candle so far, breaking the low, actually not yet, very close. This would be what's known as a footprint chart. It's just a higher time frame. Typically, footprints are lower time frames, so very fast charts. I like watching them on the 30-minute. First time you got denied a payout? Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate, man. That PAL news probably messed a lot of people up. Like I said, I don't usually use the word manipulated. I hate that word in trading. I think people use it as an excuse. But I think that PAL day, you definitely could argue that the market was being manipulated. It was definitely a a bad day. What day was that? Was that Tuesday? You didn't have time to put a stop loss in? Yeah. Yeah, very unfortunate timing. It just kind of came out of nowhere. Very choppy open, which is extremely common for a micro pullback day. Today is a perfect D-shaped balance with a micro pullback, which means that the prior day was very impulsive. The prior day was very one-directional. And now we're just cooling off from that prior day. So we have a slight inherent bias from that prior day, the prior day being so bullish. But today's bias is pretty neutral. So a little bit of bullish bias from yesterday, but that's about it. I mean, I think any of those guys would say that, Michael. It's a pretty big job. You're like the king of the castle when it comes to the Fed. So I'd assume any board member would want that job. I mean, it comes with a lot of stress, I'm sure. Not everybody wants to be king, right? Want a Jads, Adam, Joan, Leo? Want a Luke? Oh, I'm sure they were, Tamer. I'm sure they were using a bot on the Fed news. Or the PAL news, I mean. They probably had a lot of denials around that time. I'm sure a lot of people are not happy about it, but it's just unfortunate. Trading around news and headlines. That one you couldn't really predict too much. A lot of things in trading you just can't predict, unfortunately. That's why it's a very hard career. Hey, it's a hard job, Michael. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to step up to the plate and do it. That's why, like I said, I cut JP a lot of slack when we're watching those press conferences and whatnot. Whether you like the guy or not, that job is not easy. Just ping-ponging between these levels here. Keeping an eye on 52, keeping an eye on 46. He was doing better than Yellen. Yeah, I like him more than Yellen. I think he's as a trader who has to watch these press conferences, he's one of my favorites recently. Now, I'm not talking about how he's actually doing his job. I'm just talking about having to watch these stupid FOMC press conferences. I think he does a good job with them. Keep an eye on that 30-minute low. 30-minute low coming up at 46. That'll be the first low since 7 a.m. A lot of bearish delta coming in. There it is. New 30-minute low. Keep an eye on these rotations of the D-shaped profile. NASDAQ going down to 260. ES going down to, as soon as it loads, right here actually. So 45 to 52. It's only about a 7-point. It's only about a 7-point value area right now. A little bit of a rollover top on the 30-minute actually. Couple of highs, little sweep, and then a lower high. So if they don't quickly break back above this high, looking pretty bad on the higher time frames. Alright, speaking of music, this music is not good. Let me find some new music. I usually let YouTube do its thing, but a lot of times it's not very good. How do I describe my style of trading? Most of my trading is described as like a shift in momentum. I'm looking for like rollover tops, rollover bottoms. I'm trying to catch the big reversals. I'm not trying to catch the overall trend. Do you lose your account if a payout is rejected? No. You basically just have to keep trading to even out your account in order to be able to withdraw that money again. You're allowed to trade news on Apex Unleashed. It's just whether or not the news creates a windfall trade. If it creates a windfall trade where it's like very unusual, then it's a problem. Okay, if it wants to hold balance here, they need to go back up. They need to hold above this 45 level. You're just keeping an eye on the value areas right now. So 45 up to 52. Like I said, it's a 7-point rotation right now. NASDAQ is 260 to 290, 30 points. Yes, the news creates a windfall. It creates a break in consistency. So it's not the news itself, it's how you're trading it that causes a problem with your account. If you're trading it like any other day, and you're just taking like a little scalp and it doesn't look out of the ordinary, you're perfectly fine. But it's people who are taking trades and then like letting them go 5 times as much as the normal trade they take, either to the upside or downside. That's a problem. Good morning, Clive. Good morning, Keegan. Good morning, Tom. Would I consider that a bull div? Not really. There is technically a bull div there, but that's not the type of bull div that we trade. I like the like pendulum swing pattern where it like creates a peak and then kind of rolls and then creates another peak, whether to the downside or the upside. This is a continuous divergence where it's just kind of going against it. There is no adjustment to the overnight inventory that needs to be made. The overnight inventory is extremely flat. There is no imbalance or one directional bias or anything like that. This is about as perfect as an overnight can get. All right, let's scan the Momos really quick. Let's see what's going on here. A little bit of a purple shading on the 1 minutes. You did have a top pivot and a gold shading with a bear div on the 5 minutes. So 5 minute doing a very good job predicting that top. 30 minute in danger of that rollover top. You can see the trail is flipping red, so definitely confirming that we are in a lot of danger here, possibly to go down. Needs to break above that lower high pretty soon. What's the 15 minute saying? 15 minute confirmed the lower high, the rollover way back here. Around 49, gave you about 10 points. Very nice pivot on the top doji there. That's about as clean as the pivots get. How about NASDAQ here? Bouncing off a very long 1 minute pivot. 5 minute holding onto a pivot as well. 15 minute also holding onto a pivot, so a lot of pivot support around 270. 30 minute also holding onto a pivot at 260, so a lot of pivots. 260 to 270, a lot of support down here. Well, that's kind of the entire point. You just explained Apex's reasoning. They let you keep the money in your account, so as long as you show that you're being consistent and you're fixing that problem later down the road, you can still withdraw the money. They want you to make up for your mistake, basically. No, I don't look at the ETFs too much unless I'm doing like option stuff. You don't need them too much in futures trading. The futures are usually ahead of the ETFs. The futures normally lead. Good morning, Dark. Yeah, it could be like a very, very tiny bulldog forming. You're gonna run right into VWAP though. Once this cash value area gets established, I'd give it like probably at least 15, 30 more minutes. We'll see where those value levels are, and we'll see if it's respecting that value. Because if it is, then it's continuing that D-shaped rotation from the overnight. You can see just how obvious this bell curve is on the overnight. Just rotating back and forth. Needs to go back up to like 51. Yeah, there's a little bit of data at 10 o'clock. Shouldn't be too impactful. Basically, right now, you're just looking for any major breaks of the rotation. So if they like fail VWAP aggressively or something like that, as long as it doesn't break these rotations, it's just going to keep doing this. Like 51 to 52 down to like 45. You still have that slight bullish bias. You can tell on the delta. The delta is very bullish. Do we have any single prints from yesterday, or did we fill them in? I can't remember. Yeah, we did leave one open. Yep. We also left open a poor high, but that got repaired. I'm gonna get rid of. I'm gonna delete this chart now that it played out. But just one more recap of what happened here. We had a push up, failed value, came back down. Pushed up, failed value, came back down. Same thing here. So we were looking for this resting liquidity on the downside. A lot of poor lows, a lot of untested value. And then we grabbed all that value with that PAL news. So that swing trade plan has been completed. So we're going to go ahead and delete all that. We will keep an eye on this untested A session low here. A lot of block trades coming in. What just happened there? 1,400 contracts. Huge block trade. We'll see if we have a headline coming out, or was that just a big block? Don't see any headlines just yet. That was also a block on NASDAQ. It was trading, let's see here, 600 contracts. Yeah, lately you are being reminded that you need to have stop losses. There are a lot of headlines coming out that are being aggressively traded. I think today is OPEX as well, isn't it? Pretty sure it's options expiration. Yeah, you definitely need stop losses. Yeah, I don't see any headlines. I think that's just a nasty block trade. Probably somebody trading OPEX. Yeah, you could say that, Arnie. You could say that because it's a level 2 order, it didn't hit like a bunch of ticks to get filled there. That it was a passive buyer, aggressive seller, yeah. Because it's coming in red on the tape, so it's a market sell. Yeah, SK, there's just nothing you can do about that. There's nothing you can do about block trades. There's nothing you can do about random headlines. Those are the risks that we take when we trade. It's why your inherent risk slowly goes up the longer you're in a trade. Even though your stop is the same place, your target's the same place, the time that you're in a trade increases your risk because of that. Because of the uncertainty, the unpredictables. The block trades, the headlines. Yeah, also what he said, you did long the middle of a D-shaped day, so you were kind of asking to get stopped out there, unfortunately. There are ways to mitigate your risk, right? Making sure your entry is in a good place and your stop loss is far away from the chop is definitely a way to mitigate your risk. Trading the middle of a balance, the middle of a D-shaped day, is basically just burning money. Like if I was marking out a do not care zone right now, it would pretty much be the entire day. It would be basically this entire range. Right now, we are not rotating back to the upside, so seeing a little bit of a bearish bias. They should be rotating back into 51 here. Not exactly. I don't like base it solely off of volatility, like solely off of ATR, but I definitely take it into account to see how volatile the day is and what a reasonable stop would be. If you're an insanely volatile day and your volatility is like 10, 15 points per 5-minute candle, and you have a 3-point stop loss, well, good luck. Yeah, not seeing any headlines to go with that, so just a big block on OPEX. Value low doing its job here, trying to hold on to that 44 to 43. I don't think that's it, RC. I don't think a headline like that would cause a 1,400 contract block trade. That's more political than trading related. Hey, Rox, that's a good question, man. You're basically saying that like you had a strategy, it was working fine, and then now it just seems like it's not working anymore. Unfortunately, trading is like that. A lot of the setups that you use can be very, they're very dependent on how the market is moving at that time. There are certain setups that require, here's the 10 o'clock data, by the way. That's a massive move on this data. They typically don't care that much about the UOM data. That's insane. We'll keep an eye on that. Was it very far off the reading or something? Let me take a look. Yeah, it was. Yep. That's exactly what it was. Inflation expectations 4.4%. The last reading was 5%, so it went down a lot. Consumer sentiment 61.8 over 61.4. So sentiment is higher than expected. Inflation expectations down a lot. So that's why the market is reacting like that. They typically do not react like that to UOM data. Insanely far off the mark. Yeah, going back to what we were saying, certain setups are very dependent on what type of market you are trading in. And we have a lot of setups that I have in like the playbook that we just don't really use anymore. Not the ones that I make on YouTube, on the videos. Those are pretty good. But there are setups in the Discord, in the playbook channel, that we don't really use anymore because they are like that. They need a very certain market for those setups to work. So it just really depends on if it's a setup that is constantly happening, like for example, a sweep setup, A sweep setup is like never going to go away because it's just something that is, it's like a human psychology pattern. Like it's just something that's going to keep happening as long as humans are trading the market. So there are certain setups that don't go away and certain setups that have edge decay. They lose their value. So you need to determine if you're trading it improperly or it just has edge decay. Yeah, I'd say if you guys are struggling recently, it's probably not it's not solely because of how you guys are trading. It's just a hard market. The market is rough right now. It is extremely reactive to things that you cannot predict, like we just saw. You kind of could have predicted that because that's data that's on the calendar at 10 o'clock, so you knew there was going to be some kind of move. But random block trades, random headlines, all the unpredictable things you really just can't beat yourself up for. We're also hitting all-time high. The price action gets a little bit weird at all-time high. It's not as easy with volume profile trading because we can't just look at value levels all the time, right? There are no value levels. They literally do not exist to the upside. So it becomes a bit harder for volume profile traders when it gets to all-time high. You have to rely a bit more on your other methods. Yeah, long story short, it's just a really hard market right now. It doesn't need to be repaired like a single print in a poor low, poor high would need to be repaired. It's just a level that we want to keep an eye on if it does get retested. Because a session low of day or high of day levels that just gets, they stay there untested. If you think about what the A session is, the A session is typically the most volume of the day. The opening session and the closing session, like when you have closing spikes, how closing spikes like to be retested, it's the same theory. The A session has so much volume, so many people participating in that session, that those levels should probably be tested. And if they are tested, they're probably pretty significant, so we want to keep an eye on them. Hey, Philbert, I appreciate it, man. Good morning, Fatal. Yeah, the hard part about trading is I went into this rant earlier this week, so I'm not going to go into a long rant about it. But keep an eye on 45. If we stay below this, we are breaking balance. And they have swept the upper liquidity, so they can push down here. The hard part about trading is knowing when to self-reflect and like blame yourself and figure out what the problem is and not just make excuses, right? There are some times that there are very obvious excuses that you can make, like the Powell news is one of those. Like you can't really blame yourself for the thing that happened on, I think it was Tuesday, when the market was going crazy. But most of the time you can blame yourself, right? And you need to self-reflect and really understand what the problem is and figure out how to fix it. The market is not for people that constantly want to blame other things. They want to blame other people. They want to blame just anything else but you, right? If you're one of those people that like to push the blame onto other people or other objects, you're just going to get eaten alive in trading. It's just not going to work for you. So you really have to learn how to self-reflect. Take accountability, right? It's the biggest thing in trading. You really need to be accountable. You're never going to improve your trading if you're not, right? If you think you're trading properly and you're still losing, you're not going to work on fixing it, right? Little bit of absorption here. Very bottom heavy candle on that 30-minute low break, but it's not going anywhere. So keep an eye on that. If they don't quickly break below 41, they are being absorbed. Is volume low today? I don't think so. It looks pretty normal. What was our opening volume yesterday? What's today? Today's the 18th. Opening volume yesterday was 112. Then we dropped down to 91. Then we dropped down to 57. It's a little bit low. About 12,000. Nothing crazy. Sounds like being a pilot. Most accidents in the air are pilot related. Or pilot error, yeah. Speaking of that, they came out and talked about that plane crash. Did you guys see that report on that plane crash? Where the Boeing just like dropped out of the sky? And they figured out that it was because one of the pilots or something happened. The fuel pumps were turned off. So the plane was literally not getting any fuel. I don't know if they figured out if it was like done on purpose or not. But there you go. That's exactly what you were saying. There's a pilot error right there. They found their audio and they were like making comments about, oh, why did you shut this off? And by the time they figured out that it was shut off, it was too late. Planes don't fly without fuel, right? Luke's, I think I've heard of her, but I'm not sure. I don't know too many trading people. Well, supposedly it's really hard to like. It's not like an accidental thing, like, oh, my arm bumped it. It's like it's a very conscious decision you have to make to cut the fuel off. So I'm not sure how that happened. Keep an eye on that low coming up at 40. That's that point of origin that started this entire impulse. Oh, is that what they're saying? Are they saying that it was most likely intentional? Yeah, that was the last report that I saw, and I didn't see anything after that. Keep an eye on that delta coming in here at 41 to 43. That was the absorption earlier, but it's not being absorbed anymore. Was the story about that person surviving the plane crash, did that end up being true? Or was that fake? Yeah, Tamer, I'll definitely be watching this weekend. The survivor was true. Yeah, I'm guessing Boeing's stock did well after, I mean, it's sad to think about, but the stock probably did well after finding out that it wasn't really a Boeing issue. They dropped quite a bit when the crash happened. This candle is colored blue because it took the high and it took the low. So very aggressive candle here. It's an outside bar. We are breaking balance here. They should be going back from 45 up to like 51, 52. Obviously, we're at 41, so that balance has been lost for now. When you are losing balance, you want to keep an eye on those EMAs. Make sure you're still trending. This is the higher time frame kind of taken over. I talked about that rollover top on the 30-minute. Not looking too good now. I mean, it's looking good for the rollover top, not looking too good for the buyers. Here is that 30-minute rollover. You have a push up, puts in that high right there, lower high. You could consider that a lower high or this a lower high. So this kind of would have been the rollover here, and that's kind of confirming it. Yeah, looking pretty weak. Keep an eye on that pivot around 33, another pivot around 08. Momentum completely lost. So we had a bear div on that rollover top as well. So very good bear div there. And then you had the loss of the high right here. So this lower high confirmed that the top had been found. You see the shading turns off? The shading turns off because you found your top. Turning into a bearish pinch on the 5-minute, possibly the 30-minute. Is the 15? Also the 15 as well, yep. So a lot of momentum coming into the downside. Let's go ahead and delete all this. Any other levels below? We are overnight low, so no more levels here. This is that high time frame starting to take over. Beautiful rollover top on the 30-minute. Where is our VWAP for the rollover? Let's see here. So our current VWAPs are above us, but for the rollover, because it's on a 30-minute, we need to look for like the anchored VWAP of this impulse, which is actually almost right here. It's at 33. So if we anchor a VWAP to yesterday's open, because that's where the impulse started, the VWAP is 33 to 34. So you're basically hitting your target right now. You can probably see that on this chart here. Oh no, it doesn't anchor, yeah, so it would have stopped at 27. So yesterday's VWAP stopped at 27. If you continue the VWAP, it's at 34. So keep an eye on that little zone there. Okay, here's the 34 target. There was also a pivot at 34. 30-minute pivot at 33 and a quarter, I believe, is the exact level. Yeah, this pivot right here. Starting to retrace yesterday, so we have retraced the entire POC node. We have an older POC node down here around 29. Then we have the value low, so keep an eye on those levels for a full retrace to the downside. Same thing on NASDAQ. Let's take a look. POC node completely retraced. You don't really have another POC node down here. There wasn't really a lot of value on the downside. So possibly looking for that full retrace down to 141. $10 until this 30-minute candle closes, possibly creating single prints going back to 41. Keep an eye on those. We're trending very aggressively, so keep an eye on all the trails, the EMAs, the OTS trails, the candle highs, like the 5-minute highs. Let's actually put this on the 5-minute. We'll keep an eye on it. You can watch the 5-minute high around like 41. We're pretty much one time framing today, except for that news candle. Still holding on to the ADMA for now, so still aggressive. If it bounces into that 24, keep an eye on 41 and 240. Looks like they probably will create single prints on this close. They're sticking to that 30-minute tail. Like, they're sticking close to that level. They need to stay above, like, 41. They've got 7 minutes left. Seems like they're trying to stay close to that single print level. They've got 6 minutes remaining. Still one time framing on the 5-minute. The 5-minute high is being trailed very easily. 24 EMA being trailed very easily as well, and so are the OTS trails. The only thing being taken out is the aggressive trail on that 8 EMA. If it does continue, watch that single print from yesterday down to 25, and then keep an eye on the value lows. This is that 30-minute rollover top taken over here. There's our 34 target. Look for 18 as well. Possibly 30. And they're doing their favorite thing. Creating more single prints when you're retracing old ones. Or creating like 6 single prints to repair 1. Excuse me. Two minutes left. I was trying to make it obvious that it was one time for me here, but it's not really helping. But just keep an eye on those highs. The highs, you can see how the highs are coming down every single candle. The highs are being protected. So just keep an eye on those 5-minute highs going up to 40 here. We're also going to put in a 5-minute high around 35 as well. Yeah, it's by design. You're not supposed to see all the blocks on here. It's only highlighting the important ones, the bigger nodes. Okay, single prints going up to 41. We'll see if they quickly get repaired as we have been seeing recently. Recently, we've been seeing the next 30-minute candle repair most of them, if not all of them. If that does not happen today, this is a pretty strong down move. So far, they are being protected. Not seeing too much buy pressure just yet. Depending on where you're trailing that 30-minute rollover, this bounce might kill the trail. The trade is already up over 20 points anyway, so it's not a big deal. 15 to 20 points. Keep an eye on that 5-minute high here. We have not taken out a 5-minute high pretty much the entire day, except for that news candle. Okay, one time frame is broken on that 5-minute. They failed to break the low and they took out the high. So that trail has been taken out. Keep an eye on the actual OTS trails and the 24 EMAs. You are in a stair-stepping pattern here, so keep an eye on these like stair-step levels, these prior lows that we put in. And this is what I was talking about with that next candle. They've been doing this a lot recently, where the candle that creates the single prints, the new session that opens, is the one that repairs them. And it repairs them pretty much entirely. It's not taking multiple sessions to repair these single prints for the most part. This was a micro bull div on the 1 minute. Very, very small bull div. If you look at the momos, you're about to hit your bull div target, which is the trail. This is that 34 level. We talked about that VWAP. If you anchor a VWAP from yesterday's open, that would basically be the VWAP target on the rollover top. And that was at 34, damn near the bottom. Only 2 single prints remaining, about to be 1, it looks like. 24 EMAs and the trails holding you down here. 1 minute trails giving you a sell signal, hitting that target on that micro bull div. Well, the short entry on this trade was a long time ago. If you were in this trade, you should have been entered on that 30-minute rollover top, so around pretty much at the open. When the open failed the high, it put in a lower high, put in a rollover top. And then after that, the latest entry would have been the break of balance. So we didn't bounce off 45 and continue to rotate back to 51, so therefore we broke balance. And then it retested it to give you a little bit of a rebound there. So proper entry would have been the lower high, either pretty much right at the open, or you could have considered like that lower high there, or the break of balance somewhere in this area here. There are no shorts down here. This is just FOMO. If you're shorting down here, you're trading because you missed the proper trade. Now, when you miss a proper trade like that and it gets very aggressive, you have like the EMAs or the trails or whatever you want to do in that regard. Whatever you want to trail with. But yeah, the proper entries, rollover top and the break of balance, which I talked about both of those as they were happening. Yeah, Bobby, I've got an old one. You can check my, there's a couple in the order flow playlist. I'm not making any more videos on my added settings. I change them far too often for me to make a video every time that I change them. I do need to update this newest template in Discord. So if you guys are in Discord, I will hopefully have it updated by the end of today. If I forget, just send me a message. But I will try to remember to update my workspace later today, because I think I finally got it to a point where I'm not just messing with it every single day. At least for now. I'll definitely be changing it in probably a month or so. My charts are like a chameleon. They're going to be constantly changing. I don't like staring at the same thing every day. It just kind of drives me crazy. So you guys on stream are going to have a hard time following my settings. They're going to change quite a bit. The bulk of the the bulk of what I look at is not going to change. I'm still going to watch VWAPs. I'm still going to watch the 80 EMA and the 24 EMA. I'm still going to watch the market profile. But like these charts in the middle, they're probably going to change quite a bit. Just to keep my brain active, I don't fall asleep looking at the same thing every day. Good morning, Chuck. Yeah, I will have the new template uploaded later tonight. I'll make sure I have everything where I want it to be. And there's that stair-stepping level, by the way. I try to show you guys ways that you can find these levels on every style of trading. You can find them on volume profile. You can find them on naked trading, just with candlesticks. You can find them on delta. You can find them with EMAs, right? They all line up. No, Tarnation, I quite literally will not do that. That's one of the rules here. I'm not going to talk about my trades. The only time I've been talking about my trades recently is in the tutoring sessions. I did give an example to a couple people I was tutoring. I think it was this week or last week, and we went over a pretty good trade because it fit exactly what they were asking me about. So sometimes in tutoring, if it helps me get the point across, and I can show them an exact example, I will do that. But it's not very common. I don't do it every time. Guys, I'm not gonna keep going over this. I'm close to turning the chat off for the day. You guys are driving me nuts today, I'm not gonna lie. Did we have an afternoon break yesterday? Is that what you're talking about? Let me see. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this afternoon break here. It's already finished. So, yeah, good call on that. We had an afternoon break above 34. I don't know if I mentioned this yesterday. I might have forgot about that. So we had a repair right there. So good call. Very, very early repair on, or you actually didn't even need to repair it on NASDAQ. You repaired it yesterday. Yeah, Ripper. It's this is kind of what it would look like on a downtrend. So what I called on a downtrend is a downward accumulation. Because I consider anything to the upside distribution, anything to the downside accumulation. That's not technically how you should be using those terms, but that's how I use them. Just makes it easier. So if you're chopping to the upside, it's distribution. If you're chopping to the downside, it's accumulation. So yes, this would be a downward accumulation once we started tapping that 24 EMA there. And basically the way to think about it is you are in a downtrend, so the sellers are in control, but it's not the aggressive sellers anymore, it's the passive sellers. So the aggressive sellers were in control initially, And now the passive sellers are in control because you're hitting the 24. And another thing you'll see with these patterns is you start getting bullish setups that are not working. So you start getting like bull divs, you start getting let's say sweeps or whatever it may be, rollover bottoms, whatever. And they just don't work. Yeah, you can be a reversal trader during a trend. You're more of like a pullback trader at that point. But a pullback is just a micro reversal if you think about it. So yes, you can be a reversal trader during trends. XM, I can't really help you in that regard. That's completely going to be up to you on that one. A lot of the concepts I teach are not for like micro scalping extremely small time frames. So you're going to have to build a system on your own on that one. Most of my systems stop working. The 1 minute is like the slowest, or sorry, the fastest that we use. Well, that kind of was the retest, Chris. So like with the stair-stepping pattern, like if you want to be a pullback trader, you're looking for pullbacks like right here on this leg. It didn't get there, so you didn't get a trade on that one. And then on this leg, you're looking for trades like right there, and it did give you one. So like that would have been your bearish trade. And then if we grab that same level, or sorry, we grab the next level, it would be like this one down here, which we're not really getting a clean break yet. Like this you ignore. You want to wait for like a clean breakdown, kind of like these. So right now we're this is kind of a way to look at it as a naked trader. Like if you're looking at just price action, that's a way of looking at it with the momentum kind of stalling out. So if you're not looking at a momentum oscillator like the Momo or RSI or whatever, you can see it in price action. We're going from these breaks to this flat bottom here. So how it's respecting these local levels, we can determine where the momentum is, right? Hey Zach, that's great to hear, man. I'm glad you're getting the benefit out of the time that you're putting in, the hours that you're putting in with your trading. I appreciate the message. Yeah, Chris, exactly. So like that wick in itself is the trade. It's the wick's not telling you anything like for the future. It's just telling you that that level has been failed. POC quickly shifting to the bottom there, shifting to that 32 level, losing about 20 points in value. Now I can show you that level I was talking about. If you look at this. So earlier I said when you're trading the rollover. So if you think about this as a 1 minute chart, right? If this was a 1 minute chart and we were trading the rollover top, typically VWAP, like pretend that's the open. Typically VWAP's going to be trailing like down here, right? But this is not a 1 minute chart, so we can't use a standard VWAP. But what we can do is we can take a VWAP from that impulse, and then there you go. So there's that 34 target that I talked about earlier. The same exact way you would analyze a 1 minute chart, where you have the open of the day, it shoots up, puts in our rollover top, and then it comes back down. So we grab that VWAP from the open, and it trails price, and we target that VWAP. So that's how you manage it on a higher time frame. You just kind of figure out where the impulse is and pretend that's your open. Pretend that's your open of the day. And then if you want to look for a full session one, you could go even further. So like we could say this VWAP, and that'd be down to like 17. So we could pretend that's our full session VWAP, and this is our daily VWAP. And that's how you would trade a rollover on the higher time frame. So pretty rare here. We're not filling in those single prints right away. That C session, the next 30-minute candle is not repairing the single prints as we have been doing recently. So that is pretty bearish. Those single prints are pretty strong. All right, let's see if the stair stepping continues here. Still failing to hold back above that original level, that 36 level. Now, once they push away from this level, the 32 one, that's when you want to start making sure those retests do not get back above it. This doesn't really matter, the first retest, because you didn't break away from it. Very bottom heavy candle, which did create the POC. And here is that breakdown. Turning into a 30-minute sweep here, but not a very strong break away from that prior level. You can see there's barely any sell pressure down there, so there's not really a lot of absorption. You could say there's a little bit because of the block trade. There was a 437 block trade there. So anything above 29 is that 30-minute sweep. Still not able to break and flip the 1-minute trails. Possibly looking to repair those last two single prints going up to 41 here. Pretty strong sweep. This is the kind of sweep you would like to see delta-wise, where you're sweeping the low. You do have a little bit of delta below it. It's not really a big absorption, but look at the flip in delta. So as soon as you reclaim that level at 29, the delta's flipping very aggressively to the buy side. So when you have sweeps like that, you want to see that delta flip. Would have been better if there's a bit more absorption on that low. What's going on, Michael? The POC shift's just telling you where the highest volume is, so it's telling you who's basically in control. Because the value is shifting up 20 points, then you would assume that the buyers are generating more value. If it's shifting down, what did we shift down today? 15, 20? Yeah, about 20 points. Then clearly the sellers are in control because we're down 20 points from the prior one. Keep an eye on VWAP. If it does continue, that stair-stepping pattern is over. That bullish sweep, possibly looking for those single prints going up to 41. Possibly a little bulldog on NASDAQ. You don't really have it on ES, but NASDAQ has that double bottom popping up here, possibly putting in a pullback soon. You had a little pullback there, but not really seeing a defined impulse. You have a very small 5-minute bull div there. You're trying to flip the 1-minute trail. You can see the bull div on the 5-minute here, putting in higher momentum. The trail on the 1-minute still bearish. You are kind of chopping through it a little bit. That rollover top has hit its main target, so it doesn't really need to continue downward. If this is the low of day, then there will be an incomplete auction, but we have plenty of time left to finish that retrace. It wants to go down to 317. Same thing on NASDAQ. That will be an incomplete auction if that is the low of day. But we've got, what, 5 hours left? About. Hey, Unleash, have a good weekend. Still continuing that sweep here. It's looking for VWAP or the single prints. Single prints are pretty close here. Needs about 40 to 41. Very slow. It did end up being a bulldog. It's just very sloppy. The one that we talked about on NASDAQ earlier. You popped up there and then put in the pullback right there. So very defined pullback. You could have said that was the pullback as well, but pretty much the same level. All right, keep an eye on VWAP here, 39 to 42. And that lines up pretty much perfectly with those single prints. We do have a poor high. If it does continue after VWAP, keep an eye on that poor high. Well, it depends on where VWAP is. Like if VWAP is above you on a bulldog, then obviously you could target it. But if you're bouncing off of VWAP, then you can't target it. So you would have to target like fib levels or value levels or something like that. Good morning, AT. Yeah, for like a larger move, it would need to hold above VWAP to completely flip the day. We haven't held above VWAP pretty much the entire day. 1 minute trails flipping. You have a 30-minute pivot, actually. 30-minute pivot closing on that 30 level. Trying to flip the 5-minute trail now. That's a pretty good pivot on the 30 minutes so far. Why is my YouTube glitching out? What's going on here? My stream just crashed? What's going on? Oh, my stream is good. My chat crashed. I can't see chat right now. I think we're back to normal. There we go. I don't know what YouTube's like doing something. It's like going on and off. All right, here comes VWAP. They filled in one single print, one remaining. Now you can ask all your questions. Yeah, you're not lying. Hey, Jim, have a good weekend, man. I'll see you on Monday. Yeah, I need to come up with a response that I can respond to people in chat without sounding like an asshole. And I can basically say, like, think about your question for 5 minutes and get back to me. Without sounding like a complete dick, you know what I mean? Because I think a lot of questions people ask, they did not think about at all before asking. And if they just think about it for at least a few minutes, they'll figure it out. But how do I say that in a nice way? You can't really say that in a nice way. Yeah, I'll get back to you on that one. Yeah. It's like I want to ask you guys, like, how would you answer that question without me calling you out? You know what I mean? Yeah, I need the chat bot, exactly. Yeah, I might have to just release Athena to the stream just so I can tell you guys to ask it the questions. That's not going to fix the problem, though, unfortunately. Yeah, AD, that's what I try to do. I try to say, like, what do you think? Like, how would you answer that question? Now, my problem is like I've always said, I've always ranted about it on stream. The whole idea of trading is being like detail oriented and having very thorough critical thinking when it comes to stuff like that. And if you can't think about something really simple for a couple of minutes before you ask the question, trading is going to be really rough for you. And I'm trying to say that in the nicest way possible, right? Like if somebody asks me a question and it's very clearly easy to answer by just looking at my chart for maybe a 30 seconds or 2 minutes, you're going to struggle with trading because that's literally our job. Our job is to stare at charts and find these problems, find these solutions to these problems. So me being a dick is me helping you as much as I can, basically. There's no soft parenting here. I gotta be hard on you guys because this is not an easy career. Yeah, I think next week, instead of me just ignoring the dumb questions, or I don't know if I'd call them dumb questions, that might be a little far. Questions that need a little bit more thought, I guess I would say. Instead of ignoring them, I'll try to get you guys to answer them on your own in the nicest way possible. And I think starting next week, I am going to start banning people for asking me about my trades and stuff. You guys know the deal. You guys have answered the chat rules. I think it's getting a little bit out of hand, especially after we have the chat rules now. I'm not going to completely ban you. I'll probably ban you for like 30 minutes or something. Give you a little timeout. Yeah, for my sanity, we're going to have to change it a little bit. And you'll notice I'm a little bit more irritable recently because I'm not sleeping too much. I've been coding a lot recently. I've been working a lot. When I'm in my hyper focus mode and I'm working very heavily, like all day, I'm going to be more irritable with you guys in chat. front running VWAP by like a tick. And this right here is a prime example of why we front run levels, especially VWAP. VWAP is probably the #1 candidate for front running levels. You just missed VWAP by literally 1 tick. Yeah, it's a great example, and not to go into a long rant about this before we end the stream, but a great example of this is why I don't have like a free Discord, right? Because just the quality in the question, the difference in the questions that I get from Discord members is vastly different. Because they are like, they're ready to learn, right? They're really putting their head into it. They care about trading a lot, right? All I ask is putting your time into it. Put your thoughts into it. And by the way, that's why we're not getting a lot of recaps this week. I'm just putting a lot of time into other projects right now. And it'll probably be like that for maybe a few more weeks until I get out of my my coding hyper focus. Hey, Future, have a good weekend, man. We'll see you on Monday. I should get rid of YouTube. It seems to make me frustrated. No, it's not bad. I'm not frustrated at all, really. I'm just trying to do what I want to do, right? Where I want to teach you guys. I want to stream and talk about my my analysis, my commentary of the market, whatever. But I'm trying to do it in the most helpful way that I can, but simultaneously not baby you guys and treat you like children and spoon feed you. It doesn't have a negative impact on my trading. I'm doing just fine. I've been doing this for a long time. There are just certain days that I'm just, like I said, I'm more irritable and I don't feel like answering dumb questions. It doesn't like make me emotional or make me frustrated. Where's Keytoy when you need him? Keytoy was in, what's going, oh, am I lagging? Testing, testing. Can you guys hear me? I think the Discord is crashing. Yeah, the Discord, I think Discord might be down. If you guys are trying to listen in Discord, well, if you're in Discord, you can't hear me right now. Let me try to see if the messages work. The Discord voice chat is not working. The server is down or something. You guys should be good on YouTube. But yeah, what I was saying was that guy Keytoy came by the other day, and I was talking about how he was like an OG on the channel. He was back when I very first started, back in like 2018. And you guys used to see me get frustrated with people on chat back then. I would actively call people out. I don't let it bother me anymore. I don't really care. But yeah, the stream back in the day was a very, very different beast. Discord has so many updates, it's like Chrome, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why I've rarely ever seen this. I said one thing about Discord over YouTube, and it's like, oh, nope, jinx. And it broke right away. I think it's back to normal. Yeah, we should be good now. It was struggling finding the voice server. It's found it now. Yeah, worst case scenario, like sometimes on stream, I miss trades because I'm like reading chat or talking, going on a rant or something. Like that's like the biggest impact it has on my trading. Sometimes I miss trades, but it doesn't happen like daily. It doesn't happen all the time, so it's not like a massive negative impact. One of the big reasons why I don't micro scalp is because I would miss so many trades if I was trying to go over all these concepts and answer questions and read chat, and I'm taking trades that last like 2 minutes. There's just no way I'd be able to do it. So it's actually helped my trading a lot because it's made me very patient. It's made me a lot slower in a good way because I can't take these fast trades. Suggestions if you want to start streaming, good luck. Is really all I could say. Good luck. I could not imagine trying to become a streamer nowadays. Post COVID, it got insanely saturated because everybody wants to be an influencer, everybody wants to be a streamer or whatever, content creator. It was already pretty saturated before COVID. And then after COVID, it just really blew up, especially with TikTok, when TikTok exploded. And then you have the headlines of these streamers getting paid $100 million and whatnot for their streaming contracts. Like streaming peaked like what, last year, 2 years ago? When you had all those contracts coming out. Keep it on that last single print. We got like 2 more points left. But yeah, I would not recommend streaming to really anybody. It's mostly luck. You're at the mercy of the algorithm. I think with enough time, if your content is good enough and you're consistent enough, you will definitely you will outperform. You'll outperform most people. But yeah, it's mostly a luck thing. Is the algorithm grabbing your content? Here is that last single print. We need like 1 more point. Big pun, your message got automatically removed by my bot, and that's definitely a message you should not be posting in my chat. Is it legal to show trades on stream with props? It is, I think. There's a lot of gray area there. There's a lot of gray area with what I do, like the streaming, the Discord stuff, which is why I just don't do it anymore. To a certain extent, yes, it is. It is legal. A lot of people do it, right? But there is a lot of gray area there. Needs like one more tick, and this sweep will be complete. The Bulldog trade will be complete as well. I know it seems like I'm not paying attention, but there's no change here. I told you guys earlier that there was a sweep, and you were looking for VWAP, you were looking for the single prints, and that's pretty much all you're doing. Okay, Big Punk, that is extremely weird. You're just going to get banned. See you later. You are definitely the type of person we do not want in here. If you guys want to know what his hidden message was, he was talking about streaming on Pornhub. Good God. Dude might be a Reddit mod. The internet is full of some characters. That's what I'll say. Holy shit. Confirmation of the sweep. You had the 30-minute low get taken out, then it was reclaimed. You didn't really have any absorption down there. If you had some absorption, it would have been better. So imagine there's like a stronger node down here that got stuck. So there's a stronger node there that got stuck, reclaims the low. The best confirmation was the red to green flip on the delta, which I talked about when this was happening back there. But when you have that delta going from very obviously bearish to very obviously bullish, that's just confirming the sweep, right? The buyers are coming in to protect that 30-minute low. Hey, Field, have a good weekend, man. Yeah, we'll probably call it a stream here in a few minutes. So that trade idea is complete. The sweep, the bulldog, whatever you want to call it down there, rollover bottom. It was also a rollover bottom as well. So here's a good example of, we don't get a lot of examples of rollover bottoms, but here's a good example of one where we had that prior low, you swept the prior low, and then you put in that higher low, right? So low, sweep, higher low. Same thing I talk about with the rollover top. The rollover patterns are confirmation for a sweep pattern. So if you missed the sweep, the rollover bottom, the rollover top is another way you could have entered that sweep. So that's what I talk about when I say you can't wait for too much confirmation on the rollover trade because it's already confirmation. It in itself is confirming another trade. It's confirming the sweep trade. So if you wait too long on the rollover trade, it's just too late, right? So either that low there or that low there was putting in the higher low to confirm that sweep. Scott, there are no settings. It's just default. One of them is set to it's like an anchored one. One is like set to the daily, and then one is set to custom. But other than that, there are no settings. I don't change VWAP at all. VWAP should never be played with. And I think someone earlier asked about the cluster settings. Let me just show those real quick, and then we'll call it a stream. So here's my, this is the left side, the like gray side. And then here is the delta side, or the red and green side. But all right, guys, on that note, we are going to call it there. That trade idea is complete. I typically like to end the stream when, if we were talking about a trade idea, I try to let the whole thing play out before we end the stream. So that trade idea into VWAP, single prints, whatever you want to call it, has been finished. Appreciate you guys all being here. Enjoy your weekend. I will be hanging out in Discord. I will be streaming in Discord for the rest of today. If you guys are in there, I'll see you guys there. If you're not, enjoy your weekend. I'll see you on Monday, same time as always. Probably no videos this weekend. Like I said, I'm pretty much absolutely hyper-focused right now on coding. I'm working on the Athena bot. I'll have probably another update coming out this weekend. And I've been working on some other things on the side as well. But yeah, look out for an update on the Athena bot, probably Saturday or Sunday. I did not forget about you guys. If you won the raffle, I'm going to get all that stuff caught up. If you guys have sent me emails recently, I'm going to try my best to get caught up on all those emails later today. And last thing, I will be posting my new template, my new Addis template in Discord later today as well. So I'll try to get fully caught up on everything later today is my goal. But all right, guys, appreciate you all being here. If you want to support the channel, you can use code BREW, B-R-E-W. You can use the Addis link down below if you want to try them out. You can also check out Discord down below as well. All right, guys, appreciate you all being here. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you on Monday. Peace, everybody.